Hey, it's Jordan with Status Coup. Breaking news. President Biden, it is reported in the New York Times, is considering dropping out of the presidential race for re-election. Let's read from the New York Times. Biden told ally that he is weighing whether to continue in the race. The president's conversation is the first indication that he's seriously considering whether he can recover. Put a fork in it. This thing's toast. No doubt about it that this is coming out now after the silent whispers have grown to a louder chorus from the Democratic Party machine. President Biden has told a key ally that he knows he may not be able to salvage his candidacy if he cannot convince the public in the coming days that he is up for the job after a disastrous debate performance last week. The president, who the ally emphasized is still deeply in the fight for re-election, understands that his next few appearances heading into the holiday weekend, including an interview scheduled Friday with George Stephanopoulos, must go well. Quote, he knows if he has two more events like that, we're in a different place by the end of the weekend, said the ally, referring to Mr. Biden's halting and unfocused performance in the debate. That's one way of putting it. Person spoke on the condition of anonymity. Andrew Bates, White House spokesperson, said the claim was absolutely false. Of course they did. The conversation is the first indication to become public that the president is seriously considering whether he could recover after a devastating performance on the debate stage. A top advisor to Biden, who also spoke on the condition of anonymity, said the president was, quote, well aware of the political challenges he faces. It's not a coincidence this is being reported now in the New York Times after Obama World clearly leaked to the Washington Post last night that Obama was telling people he thinks this isn't looking good. Biden might have to step aside. If you missed that, this is from the Washington Post last night. Obama shares concerns after shaky debate, offers Biden his advice. Oh, good. Hope and change. Sell him hope and change, Joe. Former President Barack Obama has privately told allies who have reached out to him that President Biden's already tough path to re-election grew more challenging after his shaky debate performance on Thursday, a harsher assessment of the presidential race than his public comments, according to several people familiar with his remarks. Obama separately spoke directly with Biden by phone after last Thursday's debate to offer his support as a sounding board and private counselor for his embattled former vice president. The people said, speaking on the condition of anonymity, it's unclear how directly Obama addressed Biden's performance and path to re-election. So you got somebody leaking to the New York Times that Biden is considering stepping aside. You have Obama World leaking to the Washington Post. That's how these stories happen, by the way, that Obama is super concerned. You've started to see yesterday elected Democrats, Lloyd Doggett, I believe is his name, represents Austin, Texas, coming out to say the president should step aside. You've had congresswomen from Washington State, I believe, say Trump's going to win. I think the whispers are now growing to a little louder chorus, and you're going to start to see more people calling for him to drop out. And the New York Times, in reporting that Biden is considering it, just gave them license, gave these spineless Democrats, spineless journalists, spineless pundits, just gave them license to maybe tap a little stronger, tap the president's shoulder, whisper a little louder. Biden, go back to Wilmington. Go enjoy your grandkids. And by the way, I don't really know what delusions Biden has in his mind. I don't really know how to undo that not bad night, as the Democrats say, but that total cognitive malfunctioning for an hour and a half during the debate. I don't really know how to undo that with one or two interviews. Even if he has a flawless interview where he looks energized and he speaks well. I mean, the RNC ads air themselves. They could, the RNC, the Republicans will say, oh, what did they juice Biden up with? Give me that cocktail of drugs for him to get through that interview. Oh, they'll push, certain parts of the day he's fine, and then certain parts of the day he probably can't say his name straight. So one or two interviews, not going to do it. Maybe a few press conferences, each one for an hour or two, where Biden takes, 15 to 20 questions from the press. Maybe on top of that, a town hall that is not scripted, where he answers questions for the American public. But do you really believe that this president at this age, with clearly cognitive vulnerabilities, which there's no shame in that, do you truly believe he could get through multiple press conferences, a town hall? It's not even clear he's going to be able to get through the George Stephanopoulos interview. And all of this, by the way, is allowing Trump to get away with, bloody murder. There is no discussion right now about all of the lies from Trump during that debate. No discussion about that. Not a peep. There's very little discussion about that the Supreme Court literally just knighted presidents as kings and queens, and they could do whatever they want. Very little discussion about things like this, that Trump is openly just clamoring and jonesing to be a king, a dictator. I'm not being dramatic. This is his own words in some cases. Former President Trump, if reelected, plans to immediately test the boundaries of presidential and governing power, knowing the restraints of Congress and the courts are dramatically looser than during his first term, his advisors tell us. It's not just the Supreme Court ruling on Monday that presidents enjoy substantial legal immunity for actions in office. Trump would come to office with a cabinet and staff pre-vetted for loyalty and a fully compliant Republican coalition in Congress, devoid of critics in position of real power. That's a big reason many Democrats worry Biden is making one of the biggest gambles in U.S. history by staying in the race amid acute concerns about his age. The concerns are not just about his age. There's plenty of older people, including Bernie Sanders, who are the same age or if not older, but are able to finish sentences, are able to articulate well, are not completely losing their train of thought, which again, there's no shame in that. It's not just age. It's clearly a cognitive issue, which comes with age. Trump promises an unabashedly imperial presidency, one that would turn the Justice Department against critics, deport millions of people in the U.S. illegally, slap 10% tariffs on thousands of products, and fire perhaps tens of thousands of government staff deemed insufficiently loyal. Not to mention, he doesn't know the difference between weather and climate, and we are amidst a climate inferno, which he is going to make worse. I think at this point, it's just a matter of time. I don't think one interview where Biden doesn't stumble is going to do it. I don't think two interviews where Biden is flawless is going to do it. And the fact of the matter is, if he was capable of doing press conferences, town halls to reassure the public, you think he would have already done it after that disastrous debate. He's basically been hidden from the public. There's a reason. I think you should expect to see even more reports like this and an even more larger pressure campaign. And don't forget, we live in the United Corporations of America. So this report from New York Times basically saying Biden is considering it. It's not only that it now gives Democratic Party officials license and freedom to increase their calls from in private because they're spineless to publicly calling for him to step aside. The donors are going to start swarming like a pack of corporate hyenas and tell their employee, Joe Biden, because the politicians work for the donors, we live in the United Corporations of America, they're going to pressure him to step aside. TikTok, we'll stay on it.